Entire civilizations rest silently on the ocean floor. These are the sunken archives, underwater vaults preserving lost knowledge for centuries. By the end of this journey, you will discover 25 of these submerged sites and the forgotten stories they protect. We will uncover a 2,000-year-old analog computer found in a shipwreck and investigate a city deliberately flooded to hide its treasures. What crucial piece of our past is still waiting to be recovered from the deep? Centuries ago, on a night when the sea raged under a starless sky, a vessel heavy with scrolls and artifacts was swallowed by the waves. This was not merely a shipwreck, but the creation of a sunken archive. Unlike sites on land, the deep ocean offers a unique sanctuary. Cold, dark waters devoid of oxygen create an anaerobic environment, a perfect vault for history's most fragile treasures. Organic materials like parchment, wood, and wax, which would crumble to dust on land, can endure for millennia in this deep freeze. These archives become incredible time capsules, safeguarding primary sources in their most honest form. They hold personal letters never delivered, legal contracts awaiting a judge, and commercial records from a bustling port. Imagine a merchant's wax tablet, its stylus marks still sharp, settling into the protective mud. It would lie there, untouched and unedited, for 2,000 years. This is the sea's great paradox. It is a force of immense power that can also become history's most patient and meticulous guardian. What personal story, frozen in that deep, dark silence, is waiting to rewrite our understanding of the past? That master artisan's final, unrecorded technique is a perfect echo of what we call lost knowledge. It is not merely a fact misplaced, but an entire system of understanding that has faded from the world. Think of the intricate astronomical calendars that guided ancient sailors across vast, empty oceans, or the forgotten metallurgy that produced blades of legendary strength and flexibility. These were not simple recipes, but deep philosophies of the natural world, ways of seeing and interacting with reality that have since slipped through the cracks of time. Such losses rarely happen in a single, dramatic moment. More often, they are the quiet result of a civilization's slow decline, a cultural shift that renders an old way of thinking obsolete, or a single generation's failure to pass a crucial secret to the next. This is why sunken archives are so profoundly important. They allow us to bypass the broken telephone game of history, where stories are altered with each retelling. Instead, we recover the original source material, the merchant's ledger, the ship's navigational charts, the artisan's tools, exactly as they were left. They offer an unedited, unbiased look into a lost world's mind. So what revolutionary idea, what entire school of thought, is currently resting in that deep, dark silence, waiting to change our future by revealing a forgotten part of our past? These old tales of drowned cities are more than just fantasy. They are the echoes of real disasters passed down through generations around flickering fires. When a storyteller described the magnificent spires of Atlantis vanishing beneath the waves in a single day and night, they were likely giving voice to a collective memory. A real coastal city, perhaps shattered by an earthquake and tsunami, lived on in legend, its fate growing more epic with each telling. The Breton story of Wise, a city swallowed after a gate was left open against a storm, could easily be a poetic interpretation of a community slowly losing its land to the rising sea. This is the profound value of mythology. It wraps a stark geological or historical event in layers of human meaning, transforming a sunken settlement from a mere archaeological site into a place of moral lessons and cosmic wonder. These stories connect us directly to the fears and hopes of our ancestors, who also stood on shores watching the immense, unpredictable power of the ocean and wondering what lay beneath. So we begin our exploration not with a sonar map, but with a question born of legend. What if the greatest sunken archive of all is the one that inspired the myth of Atlantis itself, a real place whose rediscovery could rewrite humanity's earliest chapters? The Wrath of a God is a story told to explain the inexplicable. For the people of ancient Greece, the complete disappearance of the city of Helike in the year 373 before the Common Era was an event of such magnitude that only divine anger could suffice. Historical accounts describe a night of terror, with immense earthquakes and a colossal wave from the Corinthian Gulf that did not simply damage the city, but erased it from the land entirely. The powerful city-state, a key member of the Achaean League, was gone by morning, and the legend grew that Poseidon himself had dragged it beneath the sea as punishment. For centuries, travelers would visit the area, reporting they could see the ghostly outlines of the drowned city under the water. This was not just a myth, but a persistent memory of a real place. Modern researchers following these ancient clues finally located the sunken remains, confirming the classical writers were not spinning fables. They found the foundations of buildings and fragments of everyday pottery, all preserved in the deep sediment. This is what makes Helike such a critical archive. It is not a city that was abandoned and slowly decayed. It is a moment frozen in time, a snapshot of a classical Greek city captured on the very day of its catastrophic end. The positions of walls, the layout of streets, the location of artifacts in the mud, all of it offers an unedited record of urban life. What can this undisturbed city plan teach us about how people actually lived, worked, and organized their community 2,400 years ago? The rediscovery of Helike stands as powerful proof that some of our most enduring legends are not fantasy, but history, patiently waiting for us to look in the right place. While Helike offers a snapshot of a single city's sudden end, another sunken archive preserves the long, glittering life of an entire empire. The royal quarter of ancient Alexandria, the Bruchaean, did not vanish in a single cataclysm but slowly succumbed to the sea over centuries, shaken by earthquakes and sinking into the soft clay beneath its own monumental weight. Today, the Eastern Harbor holds a sprawling underwater complex, a ghostly reflection of the Ptolemaic and Roman world. This is not merely the grave of the legendary library, but the sunken heart of a capital, a district of palaces, temples, and government buildings that once defined a center of global knowledge. French underwater archaeologist Frank Gaudiot and his team have mapped this lost city, bringing to the surface breathtaking artifacts that seem to defy time. A colossal red granite statue of a Ptolemaic queen, her features still regal and sharp, was lifted from the harbor floor. Sphinxes that once guarded sacred pathways now rest in museums, having spent 2,000 years in the protective embrace of the sea. These are the very stones and sculptures that Cleopatra Roman VII would have walked past, the physical environment of her reign now lying silent under the water. The true treasure of this sunken archive, however, may be what has not yet been found. While the famous fires of the library consumed countless scrolls, the anaerobic mud of the harbor floor offers a perfect preservation chamber for organic materials. It is entirely possible that sealed ceramic jars containing papyrus scrolls or stone inscriptions that fell from collapsing buildings are still embedded in the sediment. These would not be copies of texts, but the original documents from the palace administration. What political decrees, personal letters from the queen, or scientific treatises considered lost forever are waiting in that dark, quiet mud? The waters of Alexandria do not just guard statues, they protect the very paperwork of a world capital, a sunken archive of ink and stone that could redefine our understanding of the ancient world's most celebrated center of learning. A golden scarab inscribed for Queen Nefertiti rested on the seabed for over 3,000 years, a silent witness to a forgotten world. This small artifact was part of a much larger story, found within the Uluburun Shipwreck, a Bronze Age merchant vessel that sank off the coast of Turkey around 1,300 years before the Common Era. The ship was not merely carrying goods, it was transporting the very lifeblood of an interconnected age. Its hold was a floating treasury, packed with 10 tons of raw copper ingots from Cyprus, gleaming amber from the distant Baltic, dense ebony wood from Africa, and finely crafted jewelry and weapons from Canaan and Mycenae. Each item was a line in a vast international ledger of exchange. This was not simple barter between neighbors, but a complex system of gift exchange and diplomatic tribute that connected empires. The presence of goods from so many different cultures on a single vessel paints a stunning picture of a globalized Bronze Age world, where the palaces of Egypt, the Hittites, and the Mycenaeans were linked by a fragile web of sea routes. Who was the intended recipient of this kingly cargo? Was it a pharaoh cementing an alliance, or a local ruler displaying his wealth and power? The ship's carefully stacked ingots and precious objects represent a moment frozen in transit, a delivery that never arrived. Its loss was an economic disaster for someone, but for us, it is an unparalleled archive. The wreck provides a complete, unedited inventory of what was considered valuable, showing us the raw materials and luxury items that fueled diplomacy and defined status at the very height of the late Bronze Age. How many other ships carrying different chapters of this same story still lie undiscovered in the deep, holding the secrets to other lost connections? While the Uluburun wreck tells a tale of high seas commerce, another archive reveals the intimate world of those who spent their wealth. The sunken palaces of Baiae were not a city of merchants, but a sprawling resort for Rome's most powerful elite. Nestled along the coast near modern-day Naples, this was the ultimate playground, a place where emperors like Nero and thinkers like Cicero sought relaxation and intrigue. The ground here is unstable, slowly rising and falling due to volcanic bradysism, a gradual shifting of the earth that, over centuries, allowed the sea to claim entire neighborhoods. Today, an underwater archaeological park protects these submerged wonders. You can float over the same mosaic floors that once felt the footsteps of senators and see marble statues of gods and nymphs still standing sentinel on the sandy bottom, their forms softened by marine growth. This is not a city destroyed, but one gently embraced by the water. Unlike Pompeii, which was captured in a single, violent instant by volcanic ash, Baiae offers a different kind of time capsule. It preserves the deliberate luxury and sophisticated engineering of the Roman upper class in their moments of leisure. The intricate patterns of the nymphea, or monumental fountains, hint at a culture that celebrated beauty and nature in their most extravagant forms. What whispered conversations about the fate of the empire occurred in these opulent baths? What political alliances were forged while gazing at these stunning sea views? The sunken city of Baiae is a preserved piece of Roman high society, a silent archive of marble and mosaic where the echoes of power and pleasure still seem to linger in the water. Sharp terraces and staircases descend into the deep blue off the coast of Japan. The Yonaguni monument is a colossal structure, a sprawling complex of stone resting 80 feet below the surface, its surfaces marked by what appear to be perfect right angles and distinct platforms. Since its discovery, it has become one of the most fiercely debated underwater sites in the world. Is this a stunning work of natural geology, shaped by powerful ocean currents and seismic shifts? Or is it the handiwork of a human civilization from a time when this area was dry land? The sheer scale is staggering, with features that look like carved steps, wide plazas, and even a massive stone face. If these forms are artificial, they would constitute an archive of a culture so ancient it predates conventional history, a society capable of monumental architecture before the end of the last ice age. This was a time when sea levels were dramatically lower, and what is now a submerged island could have been a coastal plateau. The existence of such a structure would force a complete rethinking of human development in the Pacific. Could Yonaguni be the physical remnant of a lost chapter, a culture whose entire history was slowly flooded and forgotten? This profound mystery does more than present a puzzle. It challenges us to expand our understanding of what ancient people were capable of achieving. The debate over Yonaguni's origins reminds us that the sea conceals more than just legends. It holds entire cities waiting to be read like pages in a book. Off the southern coast of Greece, just a few feet below the clear water, rests the sunken city of Pavlopetri. Its streets, courtyards, and tombs form a complete urban blueprint, a ghostly map of a bustling port that thrived for thousands of years. Dating back over 5,000 years, Pavlopetri is the oldest known submerged city in the world. It was not destroyed by a single disaster, but slowly submerged as sea levels rose, allowing its structures to settle gently into the seabed. This slow retreat beneath the waves preserved its layout with stunning clarity. Archaeologists can walk, or rather swim, through its neighborhoods, tracing the same paths its citizens used during the height of the Bronze Age. The city's plan is a direct archive of early urban life in the Aegean, showing how homes clustered around central courtyards and how workshops were positioned near the water for trade. Thousands of artifacts have been recovered from the site, each one a clue to a vibrant society. Simple pottery, stone tools, and sharp obsidian blades speak of a daily life connected to both land and sea. The presence of obsidian, a volcanic glass not native to the area, reveals trade networks that stretched across the Mediterranean. These were not isolated people, but participants in a wide world of exchange. What can these everyday objects tell us about the citizens themselves? The placement of a home, the tools in a workshop, the offerings in a tomb, all build a picture of their beliefs, their work, and their family structures. This is not just a collection of ruins, it is a submerged window into the very dawn of European civilization, a place where the rhythm of daily life from 5 millennia ago is still etched into the seafloor. A storm in the 1st century before the Common Era did more than sink a ship. It created one of history's most profound underwater vaults. Off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera, a Roman cargo vessel, heavy with plundered treasures, met its end. For 2,000 years, its secrets lay scattered across the seafloor, a collection of marble and bronze that would eventually rewrite our understanding of ancient science. Among the shattered amphorae and ghostly statues, sponge divers in the early 20th century recovered a lump of corroded bronze. This unassuming object, later known as the Antikythera Mechanism, is arguably the single most important scientific artifact ever recovered from the sea. It was not a weapon or a simple tool, but a complex analog computer, an intricate clockwork of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears housed in a wooden case. This device was an archive of celestial knowledge, a portable planetarium that could predict the movement of the sun, the moon, and the planets with stunning accuracy. It could forecast lunar and solar eclipses and even track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. The level of engineering precision and astronomical understanding it represents would not be seen again until the mechanical clocks of 14th century Europe. Think about that for a moment. A technological gap of over 1,000 years lies within this one recovered object. The ship that carried it was a floating gallery of the highest Hellenistic art, its hold filled with breathtaking bronze statues of philosophers and athletes, their forms still vibrant despite centuries under salt water. Each new expedition to the wreck site continues to find treasures, from a sharp bronze spear that suggests more statues are buried nearby, to pieces of the mechanism itself. This forces us to ask a compelling question. The Antikythera mechanism was not created in a vacuum. It is a surviving piece of a much larger scientific tradition. What other technological marvels, what other intricate devices mapping the heavens or calculating mathematics, were being transported across the Roman world, only to be lost to the deep? This one shipwreck stands as a permanent testament to a sophistication we are only just beginning to appreciate, a sunken archive that proves the ancient scientific mind was far more advanced than we ever dared to believe. The intricate bronze gears of the Antikythera mechanism reveal a sophistication we are only beginning to grasp. But what if an entire city mentioned in sacred texts was waiting to offer its own testimony? Offshore from the modern town of Dwarka in Gujarat, India, the seabed holds massive stone structures. Large, geometric blocks form what look like fortification walls and grand pillars, scattered across a wide area beneath the waves. These are not random stones, but the potential remains of a legendary city described in the ancient Sanskrit epic, the Mahabharata. According to tradition, this was the magnificent fortified city of Dwarka, built by the deity Krishna, a place of immense splendor that was eventually consumed by the sea. For marine archaeologists, these submerged ruins present a profound question. Do these stones belong to the golden city of Scripture, or do they represent an equally impressive but historically unknown maritime civilization? The discovery of stone anchors in the area strongly suggests this was once a major port city, a hub of trade and cultural exchange. This sunken archive bridges a gap that is rarely crossed, connecting the powerful narratives of ancient scripture with the slow, methodical work of archaeology. Each stone structure recovered from the silt is a potential piece of a puzzle that could validate a core part of cultural tradition. The search for Dwarka is not just about finding walls, it is about understanding the memories and stories that those walls represent. What knowledge of early urban planning, trade routes, and societal organization is locked within this submerged settlement? The stones of Dwarka offer a silent challenge, asking us to consider how myth and history might finally converge on the ocean floor. A grand statue of an Egyptian pharaoh stands silently on the seafloor, a Greek inscription carved at its base. This is the lost harbor of Thonis-Heracleion, a city that was not merely a port but the official, mandatory gateway to Egypt for every Greek ship. For centuries, it was considered a legendary city mentioned only in a few ancient texts, until underwater archaeologist Frank Gaudio and his team uncovered its sprawling ruins in Baiae Bay. The discovery revealed more than a sunken city. It uncovered a perfectly preserved archive of cultural fusion. The site yielded colossal statues of Egyptian rulers standing alongside stone slabs inscribed in both hieroglyphics and ancient Greek. These stelae, or stone decrees, are administrative archives in stone, showing the legal and economic frameworks that bound the two civilizations together in trade and diplomacy. The city's harbors held the remains of over 60 ancient ships, their wooden hulls protected from decay by the same anaerobic mud that safeguarded more delicate treasures. Ritual barges used in religious processions for the god Osiris were found, their wooden structures intact, alongside delicate gold artifacts that would have turned to dust in the open air. How did this vibrant, international hub manage the flow of goods, people, and ideas? Thonis-Heracleion was a bustling customs station and a major religious center, a place where Egyptian deities were worshipped alongside Greek ones, and where the wealth of the Nile was measured against the silver of the Aegean. Its collapse, likely due to a combination of earthquakes and liquefaction of the unstable clay beneath it, did not destroy this archive, it sealed it. The city's sudden submersion captured a moment of peak prosperity, freezing a working port city in time. This sunken archive offers a unique window into the practical realities of ancient globalization, a submerged monument to Egypt's enduring power during its late period and its intricate, necessary relationship with the wider Mediterranean world. The seabed around Takashima Island holds the shattered remains of a grand ambition. In the late 13th century, the great Mongol Emperor Kublai Khan, having conquered much of the known world, set his sights on Japan. He launched two massive naval invasions, the second in 1281, involving a fleet of thousands of vessels carrying tens of thousands of soldiers. This was the largest seaborne assault the world had ever seen. Yet these mighty fleets were not defeated by samurai warriors alone. They were shattered by typhoons, storms so ferocious the Japanese named them kamikaze, or divine winds, believing the gods themselves had intervened to protect their islands. The seabed here is a sprawling underwater battlefield, an archive of medieval warfare preserved in the deep. Archaeologists have discovered the broken hulls of Mongol ships, their construction revealing Yuan dynasty engineering designed for river warfare, not the open ocean's fury. They have recovered ceramic hand grenades, early explosive devices filled with gunpowder and iron shards, and the personal belongings of soldiers far from home. This sunken archive does more than document a conflict. It captures a pivotal moment of national identity. The failure of these invasions cemented a legend of Japanese divine protection that would echo for centuries. By studying the wreckage, we can reconstruct the immense logistics of these campaigns and understand their ultimate collapse. What does the specific design of a ship's keel or the distribution of supplies across a wreck site tell us about the vulnerabilities of a seemingly unstoppable force? This is not merely a collection of artifacts, but a tangible record of a historical turning point, a moment when nature itself stepped in to reshape the destiny of a nation. A quiet catastrophe unfolded along the Bay of Naples, not of a city, but of a sanctuary for the mind. The Nymphaeum of Misenum was no simple fountain, but a grand, open-air gallery where the Roman elite came to relax, converse, and surround themselves with beauty. When the land subsided, this monumental complex slid into the sea, taking its entire collection of sculptures with it. Today, the site rests under the water, a submerged sculpture garden where marble figures stand frozen in elegant poses. These are not the stern portraits of a forum, but the graceful forms of mythological muses and members of the imperial family, captured for eternity. Their preservation is remarkable, with every delicate fold of a stone gown and every serene facial expression still perfectly clear. This is an archive carved not on papyrus, but in marble, a direct transmission of Roman aesthetic ideals and the stories they held most dear. The statues themselves are a language, speaking of a culture that wove mythology, flattery of rulers, and a deep appreciation for art into the very fabric of daily leisure. These figures were not hidden away in a private collection. They were placed in a social space designed to be seen and discussed. Can you hear the faint echoes of philosophical debate that once filled this airy complex? A senator might have pondered Stoic principles while gazing at a statue of a muse, or a poet might have sought inspiration from the depiction of a god. The true power of this sunken archive lies in its context. The statues were found exactly where they fell, still positioned in relation to the architecture of the Nymphaeum. This allows us to understand how Romans experienced art not as isolated objects in a museum, but as integral elements of their environment, shaping the mood and meaning of a place. The submerged garden of Misenum offers a silent, powerful narrative of how art defined Roman identity, a story told not in words but in the graceful, water-softened contours of stone. The graceful stone muses of Misenum speak of a refined world, but beneath the cold, dark waters of the North Sea lies an archive of a much older and wilder Europe. Doggerland was not a city but an entire country, a vast, fertile plain that connected the British Isles to the Netherlands and Denmark. For thousands of years, it was home to Mesolithic hunter-gatherers who tracked herds of mammoth and aurochs through its dense forests and marshlands. This world now lies silent, submerged under 100 feet of water, its secrets locked in the seabed. The drowning of Doggerland was a slow, inexorable process, not a single storm but a relentless creep of rising seas at the end of the last ice age. As the glaciers melted, the land itself, freed from the immense weight of the ice, also began to tilt and sink. The communities living there would have watched their world shrink year by year, the salt water poisoning their freshwater lagoons and the hunting grounds gradually disappearing beneath the waves. What must it have been like to be the last person to stand on a hill that is now an underwater sandbank, watching the sea claim a forest where your ancestors had hunted for generations? This was not a sudden catastrophe, but a long farewell to a homeland. Today, the only glimpses we get of this lost world come from the nets of fishermen who have for centuries pulled up startling finds from the seabed. They have recovered the bones of ancient lions, the perfectly preserved antlers of giant elk, and most tellingly, finely worked flint tools and weapons. These are not random stones, but the crafted belongings of the people who once lived there. Modern seismic mapping has begun to chart this sunken landscape, revealing the ghostly outlines of ancient river valleys, lakes, and coastlines. This sunken archive offers a profound lesson in human resilience and adaptation. It holds the key to understanding how some of Europe's earliest inhabitants responded to dramatic environmental change, a slow-moving event that reshaped their entire way of life and ultimately forced a mass migration to the higher grounds that would become our familiar continents. The story of Doggerland is a silent, submerged testament to a lost chapter of human prehistory, a haunting reminder of a world that vanished beneath the waves. A city's political voice can still be heard from beneath the waves. The sunken remains of Olous lie in the impossibly clear waters of the Bay of Alexandria in Crete, their stone foundations and protective walls forming a ghostly blueprint on the seabed. This was no minor settlement but a powerful and wealthy Dorian city-state, known for forging treaties with other major powers like Rhodes. Its submerged condition is our great fortune, for the water has acted as a perfect shield. While many ancient land-based sites have been plowed over for farming or built upon by modern cities, Olous rests in pristine silence, its urban layout preserved with stunning clarity. This gives archaeologists an almost perfect map of an ancient Cretan city, free from the disturbances that complicate so many terrestrial digs. The key to its influence is written in stone, quite literally. Inscriptions recovered from the site detail its alliances and legal agreements, serving as a direct archive of political history carved in marble. These are not later copies, but the original documents that governed the city's diplomatic relationships. How did a city on the coast of Crete command such respect across the Aegean? The answer lies in its mastery of the sea. Olous was a crucial node in a vast maritime network, its harbor bustling with ships carrying goods, information, and political envoys. Its wealth and power were built not on conquest but on connection, leveraging its strategic position to become an indispensable partner and a respected voice in regional affairs. The quiet ruins of Olous are more than a collection of old stones. They are a submerged testament to the sophisticated political landscape of the ancient world, where influence was often measured by the reach of one's trade routes and the strength of one's written word. Two of the most advanced ships of their era now rest in the silent darkness of the Canadian Arctic, their wooden hulls perfectly preserved by the freezing water. The HMS Erebus and HMS Terror were technological marvels, equipped with steam engines, reinforced iron plating, and central heating systems for their mission to conquer the elusive Northwest Passage. Yet by the late 1840s, both vessels and their entire crews had vanished into the ice, creating one of history's most enduring maritime mysteries. For over a century and a half, the fate of the Franklin expedition was a haunting blank space on the map, a story of ambition swallowed by an unforgiving wilderness. The discovery of the wrecks, first Erebus in 2014 and then Terror 2 years later, did more than solve a mystery. It opened a pristine archive. The frigid, dark waters have acted as a perfect deep freeze, safeguarding the ships in astonishing detail. Divers have found plates still stacked in the officers' mess, scientific instruments waiting to be used, and personal belongings like hair brushes and sealed writing cases resting exactly where they were left. This is not a scattered debris field, but a suspended moment from the Victorian age. The most tantalizing finds are papers, written documents preserved by the cold, anaerobic conditions. These could be the final logs, personal letters, or even the ship's own orders, holding the first-hand account of what happened during those desperate final months. The positions of the wrecks, many miles apart and far from the initially searched area, tell their own story of a last, frantic attempt at survival. They suggest the crews, after abandoning the ice-locked ships, may have managed to refloat one vessel in a final, doomed effort to sail for help. Each carefully recovered artifact, from a lieutenant's epaulette to a sailor's simple shoe, adds a human voice to this tragic narrative. What do these silent objects say about the crew's resilience, their daily routines, and their ultimate fate in that vast, frozen landscape? The wrecks of Erebus and Terror stand as a sobering archive of human endeavor, a permanent reminder of the immense power of the natural world and the fragile line between exploration and tragedy. High on the Andean plateau, the deep blue waters of Lake Titicaca hold more than just the sky's reflection. Beneath its surface lie the stone foundations of an ancient world, where entire villages and ritual complexes built by pre-Inca civilizations like the Tiwanaku were gradually claimed by the lake. These are not the ruins of a sudden disaster, but of a slow, profound transformation of the landscape. Underwater archaeologists mapping the lakebed have found extensive walls, ceremonial terraces, and pathways that once defined a thriving community. They have recovered precious offerings left in these sacred spaces, from delicate gold ornaments to intricately carved llama bones and ceremonial incense burners. Each artifact is a direct message from the past, a physical piece of a spiritual dialogue. For the Tiwanaku, the lake was not merely a body of water, it was a living deity, a central force in their cosmology. The careful placement of these valuable items on the lake bottom was a deliberate act of devotion, an attempt to appease or honor the powerful god of the waters. How did these early cultures interpret the slow, inexorable rise of the lake that sustained them? Did they see it as a sign of divine favor or a cause for deep concern? The changing water levels would have reshaped their physical world, and in turn, their understanding of their relationship with the divine. These sunken villages are a unique archive of Andean state formation, showing how a society's spiritual beliefs were woven directly into its relationship with the environment. They connect the physical landscape to the spiritual realm, preserving the very objects used in rituals that sought to balance the needs of a growing civilization with the immense, unpredictable power of a sacred lake. The wealth of Aperlae was literally drawn from the sea, a deep crimson harvested from the murex snail. This small Lycian city on the Turkish coast did not just trade with the Mediterranean. It produced one of its most valuable commodities, a dye so precious it was worth more than its weight in gold. Today, the city's sea walls and buildings rest just below the surface, a silent testament to coastal subsidence that gently lowered this entire community into a sheltered bay. The most compelling features are not the grand public buildings, but the submerged stone vats built directly into the shoreline. These are the industrial heart of Aperlae, the sunken archives of a specialized economy. You can still see the tanks where thousands of murex snails were patiently processed. Their glands slowly simmered to release a few precious drops of vibrant purple. This site preserves the complete chain of production, from the harvesting of the raw material to the final dyeing of textiles, a rare and tangible record of an entire ancient industry. But Aperlae was not a single-era city. Its ruins also include the foundations of Christian churches from its later Byzantine life, illustrating a remarkable adaptation over centuries. The city that produced a pagan luxury for Roman aristocrats evolved into a community of faith, its economic foundation allowing it to persist through the rise and fall of empires. What was daily existence like in a place so intimately tied to a single, smelly, and incredibly lucrative craft? The entire social structure, from the merchant to the laborer, would have been shaped by the rhythm of the tides and the seasonal harvest of snails. Aperlae offers a complete microcosm of ancient economic life, a sunken archive where the story of prosperity is written not in grand monuments, but in the quiet stone vats that still line its vanished shore. A deep, natural well in the Yucatan jungle holds more than just water. For the ancient Maya, these cenotes were far more than sources of fresh water. They were sacred portals to Xibalba, the underworld, a realm of gods and ancestors. The dark, still water of these sinkholes, largely devoid of oxygen, created a perfect preservation chamber, a natural archive that protects fragile organic materials for centuries. Within these liquid vaults, archaeologists have found a stunning record of spiritual devotion. Exquisitely carved jade ornaments, delicate gold artifacts, and finely painted ceramic vessels were cast into the depths as gifts to appease powerful deities. These were not casual offerings, but deliberate acts of communication with a world beyond our own. The skeletal remains found in these sacred waters offer their own silent testimony. Through careful study, researchers can uncover details about an individual's diet, their overall health, and even the region they came from, providing clues about the origins of those chosen for these ceremonial practices. What does this profound act tell us about the Maya's understanding of the cosmos? It reveals a world view where the balance of the world depended on a reciprocal relationship with the gods, a cycle where life was sustained through the most significant of offerings. These cenotes are not merely geological features, they are submerged libraries of faith, their dark waters safeguarding the tangible expressions of a civilization's deepest beliefs about life, death, and the sacred forces that govern their universe. A king's ambition lay at the bottom of Stockholm Harbor. The mighty warship Vasa, a symbol of Swedish naval power, embarked on its maiden voyage in 1628. It sailed less than a mile before a gust of wind filled its ornate sails, and the top-heavy vessel simply tipped over, taking the pride of a nation down with it. This was not a slow decay, but a sudden, catastrophic failure witnessed by the entire city. For over 300 years, the ship rested in the cold, brackish water of the harbor, a forgotten tomb. Then, in a remarkable feat of marine archaeology, the Vasa was raised almost entirely intact. The cold, low salinity water of the Baltic Sea had protected the oak hull from the shipworms that devour wood in other oceans. What emerged was not a wreck but a time capsule, a perfect snapshot of a single moment in the 17th century. The ship is a complete archive of naval warfare, from the massive cannons still in their carriages to the personal chests of the sailors, their clothes and tools still inside. The preservation is so complete that the original sails were recovered, along with the bones of those who could not escape. The hull itself is a floating gallery, covered in hundreds of intricately carved sculptures of lions, biblical heroes, and Roman emperors, each one a statement of power and ideology. This unparalleled preservation allows us to ask a very direct question. What combination of design flaw and human error led to this tragedy? The answer is written in the ship's very structure. The Vasa was built with a dangerously high center of gravity, its upper decks overloaded with heavy guns and all that ornate decoration. The ship's stability was fatally compromised before it ever left port, a consequence of a king's demand for a show of force overriding the cautious advice of his engineers. The Vasa is more than a museum piece. It is a cautionary tale carved in oak, a permanent reminder that even the grandest ambitions are subject to the unforgiving laws of physics. The sacred waters of Baiae conceal more than one legendary city. While Thonis-Heracleion was the official port of entry, its neighbor Canopus served as the spiritual and cultural heart for a different kind of pilgrimage. This city was a vibrant center for the cult of Serapis, a powerful deity deliberately created to unite Egyptian and Greek religious traditions. Imagine a place where the lines between cultures blurred in a haze of temple incense and celebratory processions. Canopus was famed for its healing temples, where the sick and the hopeful sought divine intervention, and for a reputation of festive revelry that attracted visitors from across the Mediterranean. Its deliberate submersion, likely from the same geological instability that claimed Heracleion, preserved this unique atmosphere in a sunken archive. The ruins contain the stone foundations of its grand temples, statues of hybrid gods like Serapis himself, and nilometers, the sophisticated devices used to measure the life-giving flood of the Nile. These structures are not just rubble, they are the physical framework of a spiritual experiment. How did the rituals here differ from those in older, purely Egyptian temples? The evidence points to a fascinating synthesis. Greek hymns might have been sung in courtyards adorned with Egyptian hieroglyphs. The practices were likely more accessible and emotionally expressive, designed to appeal to a diverse population seeking personal connection with a universal God. This was religion as a unifying social force, a deliberate effort to build a shared identity in a time of great cultural mixing. The sunken city of Canopus offers a rare, undisturbed look at how faith can evolve, not through conquest, but through a quiet, profound exchange of ideas, all preserved in the silent, protective embrace of the sea. Stone monuments rise from the dark waters of Scottish lochs, their forms softened by peat and time. These are the submerged cairns and crannogs of Neolithic and Bronze Age communities, built on shores that have since slipped beneath the surface. The cold, acidic, and oxygen-poor water of these lochs creates a remarkable preservation chamber, a natural deep freeze that protects materials which would have vanished on land. Within these stone chambers, archaeologists have found finely polished stone axes, delicate pottery vessels, and the wooden posts of roundhouses, all resting exactly as they were left thousands of years ago. Even the faint traces of food remains, like hazelnut shells and grain, have been found, offering a direct glimpse into the daily diet of Scotland's earliest inhabitants. These sites are more than a collection of artifacts. They are a map of a lost landscape. The placement of these crannogs, or artificial islands, and burial cairns along the ancient shoreline reveals a deep connection to the water. It was a source of food, a natural highway for travel and trade, and likely a spiritual boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the ancestors. Why did these communities invest such immense effort to build their homes and tombs at the water's edge? The answer lies in a world where land and lake were intimately connected, each holding a central place in the cycle of life and the journey after. The silent, submerged villages of the Lochs guard a profound archive of prehistoric belief, a testament to a people who shaped their world in stone and wood, and whose legacy now rests in the quiet, dark embrace of the water. Roman engineering ambition met the open sea at Caesarea Maritima. Here, King Herod the Great commanded a harbor to be built where nature had provided none, a colossal undertaking that resulted in one of the largest artificial ports of the ancient world. Its sunken breakwaters and collapsed lighthouses now create an underwater labyrinth, a sprawling archive of imperial ingenuity. The key to its construction was a revolutionary material known as hydraulic concrete, a mixture that could set and harden even underwater. Roman engineers would have poured this concrete into massive wooden forms directly on the seabed, creating the immense foundations that defied the relentless Mediterranean waves. How did they manage such precision in an environment of shifting sands and constant storms? The answer lies in the meticulous planning evident in the ruins. Underwater surveys have mapped a complex network of quays, warehouses, and loading docks, all designed to manage the immense flow of goods between Rome and its eastern provinces. This was not just a port, it was a machine for commerce, a physical manifestation of Rome's economic reach. The artifacts recovered from the harbor still tell the story of its cosmopolitan life, from Italian wine amphorae to fine Eastern ceramics, each object a testament to the countless ships and cultures that passed through this gateway. The submerged port of Caesarea stands as a monument to a specific kind of genius, one that looked at a challenging coastline and saw not an obstacle, but a blueprint for the future. Beneath the world's largest desert lie the ghosts of vast, flowing rivers. The Sahara was not always a sea of sand, but a green and vibrant landscape, a mosaic of savannas, lakes, and waterways that supported a stunning array of life. This is an archive not of stone and shipwrecks, but of climate and memory, preserved in the most unlikely of places, deep within the earth. The evidence is etched into the desert itself, on rock walls that once overlooked watering holes. Here, ancient artists painted a world that seems impossible today, depicting herds of giraffes, lumbering elephants, and even men hunting crocodiles, scenes from a lost paradise now buried under countless tons of sand. These images are not fantasy, they are a direct record, a gallery of a green Sahara that existed for thousands of years. How did such a dramatic transformation occur? The answer is written in the slow, cyclical wobble of our planet, which periodically tilts the region to receive more monsoon rains, creating windows of habitation in an otherwise harsh environment. The true archive of this lost world, however, is hidden from view. It resides in fossil aquifers, massive underground reservoirs of ancient water that have been sealed away for millennia, and in the buried, sandy channels of long-vanished rivers. Modern satellite radar has peeled back the surface of the desert, revealing the stark, dark outlines of these colossal river systems, some rivaling the Nile in scale. These ghost rivers are like a submerged road map, and along their ancient banks, researchers have identified what appear to be the sites of settlements and communities. What sophisticated cultures flourished along these waterways, and what knowledge did they develop about surviving in a changing world? these lost river civilizations were likely crucial waypoints in the great human journey out of Africa, offering rest and resources to migrating populations. Their story is a profound lesson in adaptation, showing how people thrived during a wet phase and then faced the slow, inexorable advance of the desert. The secrets of their success, their social structures, and their eventual dispersal are not stored in a library, but locked in the deepest archives of all, the silent, layered earth beneath the shifting dunes. The stones of Atlet Yam rest 40 feet below the surface, a ghostly village from a time before pottery was even invented. This is not a city of emperors or merchants, but a quiet settlement from around 7,000 years before the Common Era, a community of the first farmers. Its stone houses still stand in neat rows, and at its heart lies a mysterious stone circle, a ritual space where massive pillars were carefully arranged, perhaps for ceremonies tied to the sun or the seasons. This sunken archive preserves a pivotal revolution, the very moment humanity began to shift from a life of following wild herds to one of sowing seeds and building permanent homes. The evidence is etched into the seafloor itself, the remains of domesticated wheat and barley and the bones of sheep and goats showing a deliberate turn toward agriculture. They even built a deep, stone-lined well, securing their fresh water against the salt of the nearby sea. Yet this village also holds more personal stories. In one quiet corner, archaeologists found the resting place of a woman and a young child, a burial that speaks to the deep family bonds within this early society. Studies of their remains revealed the earliest known case of tuberculosis, offering a somber glimpse into the health challenges of this new, settled way of life. Living in close quarters with their animals likely exposed them to new illnesses, a hidden cost of their revolutionary change. Why did these pioneers build their world so close to a rising sea? The answer may lie in the very resources that sustained them. The coastal location provided a rich mix of marine food and fertile land, a perfect laboratory for their agricultural experiments. They likely believed they had generations before the water would claim their home, unaware of how quickly the ancient Mediterranean was rising. Atlet Yam is a time capsule of that fragile, experimental chapter, a sunken archive that captures the immense courage and profound challenges of the first people who chose to stay in one place and shape the land around them. A silent necropolis from the Age of Heroes rests beneath the waters of the Gulf of Corinth. Here, along a volatile fault line, entire landscapes have shifted, lowering Mycenaean-era chamber tombs from their seaside cliffs into the deep. These are not the grand palaces of kings, but the submerged resting places of an entire society, carved directly into the living rock. Their descent into the sea was not a sudden event, but a slow, geological sigh that transformed a coastal cemetery into a unique underwater archive. While ancient looters may have taken the most obvious treasures of gold and jewels, they left behind a deeper story etched in the tomb's very form and contents. The cool, dark water has since acted as a shield, protecting these structures from the plows of modern farms and the foundations of new buildings, preserving their architectural truth for millennia. Inside, archaeologists find the quiet remnants of Bronze Age lives, fragments of painted pottery that once held offerings, intricate seal stones that served as personal signatures, and the mineralized traces of those laid to rest all endure in the protective brine. These materials are a direct line to understanding social hierarchy, revealing through the quality of the artifacts whether the tomb held a powerful warrior or a respected artisan. Even the skeletal remains, carefully studied, can whisper secrets about the community's overall health and daily diet. But the most profound questions are asked by the tombs themselves. Why were they carved with such care to face the open sea? Their deliberate placement at the boundary between land and water suggests the Mycenaeans saw the ocean not as an end but as a pathway. Was the sea viewed as a conduit to the afterlife, a vast, mysterious realm that carried the spirits of the departed to their final destination? The design of these sunken tombs, with their narrow entrances and enclosed chambers, mimics the womb of the earth, a return to the beginning, while their location points toward the endless horizon. This silent, submerged necropolis offers a tangible connection to the beliefs of a legendary age, a culture that built its houses for the dead to last an eternity, never imagining they would one day be guarded by the very element they sought to cross. The silent halls of Xicheng were not lost to the sea, but gifted to it. In 1959, the valley holding the ancient Lion City was deliberately flooded to create Qingdao Lake, a modern reservoir that would power a growing nation. This was not an act of nature, but a conscious decision, submerging centuries of history to fuel the future. The result is an archive unlike any other, a complete Ming and Qing dynasty city preserved in a state of perfect suspension beneath the fresh, cold water. Intricately carved arches, majestic city walls, and serene temples stand in the deep, their wooden beams and stonework shielded from the weathering effects of sun and air. The water itself has become a guardian, maintaining the city in a pristine condition that land-based sites can only dream of. This deliberate inundation created a profound historical paradox. While the world above changed dramatically, Xicheng remained frozen, its architecture and artistry untouched by the cultural shifts that reshaped the surface. What can these undisturbed structures, a perfect snapshot of traditional Chinese urban design from the 1950s, tell us about the world just before it vanished? The city offers a unique window into a specific moment, a time capsule that holds the aesthetic and cultural values of an era suspended in clear, quiet water. The Lion City does not ask to be rescued, only to be remembered and understood, a magnificent archive sacrificed for progress, now slowly revealing its submerged treasures to those who dare to look. The future of uncovering these lost worlds will be guided by hands that never touch a single artifact. Autonomous robotic submarines, gliding silently through the dark, are now mapping entire sunken landscapes with a precision once thought impossible. Their advanced sensors paint the seafloor in high definition, capturing data so rich it allows for the creation of perfect digital twins of these archives through a process called photogrammetry. We can explore a virtual reconstruction of a Roman shipwreck, walking its deck and examining its cargo, all from a laboratory on the surface. The very sediment surrounding these sites is becoming a new kind of library. Scientists can now extract ancient DNA from the seabed, identifying the genetic traces of long-vanished plants and animals to reconstruct the complete ecosystem that existed when a city was still above the waves. This non-invasive approach is leading to a profound ethical shift in the field, a principle known as in situ preservation. The goal is no longer to raise every artifact, but to protect these sites in their watery resting places, leaving them undisturbed for future generations who will possess tools we cannot yet conceive. This global heritage demands global guardianship. International cooperation and stricter laws are essential to shield these fragile, non-renewable archives from looting and commercial exploitation that erase their context forever. How will we share these discoveries? The answer may lie in virtual reality, allowing anyone, anywhere, to don a headset and personally navigate the silent streets of Pavlopetri or circle the majestic statues of Alexandria's royal quarter. The next great chapter in our search for lost knowledge will be written not only with shovels, but with silicon and software, preserving the past by carefully, respectfully, looking without touching. From the legendary ruins of Helike to the deliberately flooded streets of Xicheng, we have journeyed across the globe and through time to explore 25 sunken archives. These sites are far more than collections of wreckage and ruins. They are irreplaceable libraries of human experience, safeguarding everything from a merchant's daily receipt to the grand philosophical ideas that defined entire civilizations. Each one reminds us that history is not a single, simple narrative written in stone, but a vast and intricate mosaic. Countless pieces of this grand picture remain hidden, resting patiently beneath the waves. The slow, careful recovery of this lost knowledge constantly challenges our assumptions, forcing us to rethink what we know about technology, society, and the human spirit. It enriches our understanding of who we are by revealing the countless paths our ancestors walked. With every advance in underwater robotics and genetic analysis, we stand on the brink of discovering even more of these submerged secrets, each one a new chapter in our shared story. Let this exploration serve as a powerful reminder that the past is never truly gone. It is simply waiting in the quiet deep, holding its breath for the moment we are ready to listen. We would love to hear which of these sunken archives captivated you the most. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to continue this journey into history's greatest mysteries.